Hi, thanks for joining us for another episode of Queer Money, where we help you do more and be more, both personally and financially. If you want more help building a bigger life, please subscribe to the Queer Money Lifestyle newsletter at debtfreeguys.com. It's free, and you can't get any more money conscious than that. I recently quit my day job to focus solely on debt-free guys, and consequently, Dave and I had to make changes and reevaluate our life insurance coverage. And we found that today's life insurance is not your grandfather's life insurance. We wanted to share some of our findings with you. So we invited our friend Mark Sayre, he is the Underwriting Product Manager for HavenLife, to navigate the ins and outs of today's life insurance, tell us why all single and queer people need life insurance, and how the industry is changing rapidly, including how it's helping the trans members of our community. So take a listen, and as always, please let us know what you think.
There's personal finance for the masses. This is not personal finance for the masses.
Hey, let's see if this card goes through for that $8,000 drink.
Right, exactly. Well, everybody wants to be a part of the in crowd. Everybody wants to look good.
My decision was, I'm not a victim. I'm not going to stay and work someplace where this is a problem.
Normally we don't drink on Queer Money, but because we're talking about a subject that David is rather vanilla on.
Grab a glass of wine, because you're listening to Queer Money with the Debt-Free Guys. This is the only show helping our community do more and be more by talking about money from the queer perspective. Welcome back to another edition of Queer Money. This week we are talking about the importance of life insurance for the queer community. Very often it seems that a lot of us in our community don't think that life insurance is important, and we don't believe that that's the case. So today we have Mark Sayre from HavenLife, who's going to give us some education on life insurance and why it's important for us. We do want to add the caveat that we are not getting paid by HavenLife or MassMutual for this episode, and this is not an endorsement of Debt-Free Guys for HavenLife. So if you are interested in life insurance, certainly check out HavenLife, but check out your other options as well to see what's most appropriate for you. So to kick us off, we've got Mark Sayre. Mark, would you mind introducing yourself and giving us a little bit of background about you, please?
Absolutely. Thank you both for having me on the show. I'm really excited to be part of this.
Nice.
I'm Mark Sayre. I've been at HavenLife for 2 years. My role here is Underwriting Product Manager. And really in that role, I work with a team to bring new technology to our environment in order to drive a better and faster customer experience.
Nice. Very cool. Well, welcome. We're excited to have you here as well. We've tried several attempts to have Mark on the show, so we're glad we appreciate his patience. And
But finally working.
It's finally working, exactly. And we think this is an important topic to discuss, and that's why we're very adamant about making sure it happened. So, Mark, I think a lot of us, when we are thinking of life insurance, we're thinking of our grandfathers or even maybe our father's life insurance, but that's evolved quite rapidly. Can you give us some background on how today's life insurance is maybe a bit different than what we might be used to?
Yeah, absolutely. I think there are two very large differences. Probably the most important difference, especially to us here at HavenLife, is how people interact with and buy life insurance. We've really designed an experience that is going after the millennial market, a kind of what we call the digitally savvy, tech savvy consumer. We find that people really want to buy life insurance in their own way. They want to do it online. They want it to be transparent, and we've really redesigned our whole process to meet those needs. And I think the second big thing is the changing customer. With marriage equality, even before marriage equality, LGBT families were on the rise, which is a wonderful thing to see.
Yep.
And with LGBT families growing, obviously the need for life insurance is really coming to the LGBT space even more than it was in the past. So it's exciting to see the customer base change, and that's really forcing companies like HavenLife to really drive a different experience to connect with those consumers and really provide the service that they need.
Yeah, that's great to hear. I think we're very excited that the LGBT community is starting to get more rights, and there's still a lot of progress to be made in that arena, but we have to be cognizant of the fact that with those rights come responsibilities. So if we are going to have grow families, even if it's just your spouse, it's prudent to get coverage for yourself in case anything should happen to you, and you don't leave your spouse or the rest of your family behind.
Right. I think one of the things that we want to highlight, John and I
talk regularly about is the need to have a holistic look at your finances. You know, a lot of people think, oh, well, I make this amount of money. This is the amount of money I can spend, or this is the amount of money I'm going to save. But there's lots of different aspects to your finances, and one of those aspects is being prepared long term, not only for yourself but other family members. And so having a portion of your financial planning involve life insurance, or all types of insurance for that matter, is important. We want to make sure, and that's why, doing more and being more and doing more, which is kind of our mantra on this show, is that money can allow you to do more and be more. If you're lacking in one area, it may hold you back. So that's why we're glad we can talk about this subject with somebody who's very knowledgeable on it. Because we're not that knowledgeable on it.
Thank you. That means a lot, and I think that's a really great lens to bring to the conversation around finances.
Nice. Well, so a couple of months ago, you wrote an article that's on HavenLife's website about why queer people and even single queer people should get life insurance, and we'll link to that in the show notes. But would you mind expanding upon that a little bit as to why queer people specifically should look at life insurance?
Yeah, absolutely. The article was really about me personally as a single gay man and why I own life insurance. Generally, I think people think of life insurance as something that someone with a spouse or with kids should have. For me, I think about it more from the perspective of who can I leave a legacy for? And in my life, I have siblings that have children. I have nieces and nephews, and I want to make sure that they can pursue whatever they want to pursue. I have a niece who's super into fashion, so maybe she'll pursue that. She'll need a lot of money. So for me, it's about, how can I leave a legacy if I were to die? Really leave a legacy for them, the people that I love. And at some point, I would love to be married, maybe have a family of my own. And having life insurance now positions me for that day when I have a spouse and kids. So.
Right. Yeah, it does make sense, doesn't it, to get life insurance as you're younger, when you have, in theory, less health concerns, than to wait when you're older. Is that right?
Yes, absolutely. And it costs less when you're young too. I think it's surprisingly affordable. Most people don't understand how affordable individual life insurance is. And what we usually use here as an example of that at HavenLife is a 35-year-old female, which is pretty kind of standard for our market, could get a $500,000 20-year term policy for around $22 a month, which is much less than the average cell phone bill. So it's surprisingly affordable. I think most people don't realize how affordable it can be to have that protection in place.
Yeah, absolutely. That makes sense. And then, David, about a year or two ago, you wrote an article on why college graduates should consider, even college students should consider getting life insurance, because especially if their parents are going to co-sign for them for a personal loan to get through school, that could put their parents in a precarious position if anything should happen to the student.
Yeah, exactly. I think that it's something that a lot of people don't necessarily consider. And I read an article on a financial website that was talking about a family that had been devastated because they had helped their daughter get get student loans, but they had co-signed on those loans, and they were privately held. They were not federally held, and unfortunately, she had passed away. And all of a sudden, the parents had an $80,000 bill that the banks were coming after them because they had co-signed, and because they had co-signed, they took on that financial responsibility. So if you do have privately held loans as a student, or you as a parent have co-signed on those loans for your children, you definitely want to consider that as a means of protecting yourself. We don't want to be doom and gloom here, but that would be unfortunately, would be the silver lining to a scenario like that, where you do lose a child, and you don't have to then pay for that college expense that you weren't planning on. It could wreck you financially.
Absolutely. That's a great scenario that points out the importance of planning. I think another thing that is important for someone who's single like myself to think about is if you have a mortgage. I purchased a home a few years back, and I have a mortgage, and so you also want to consider, what will happen to that debt if you were to die, and who would ultimately be responsible, and could life insurance also help lessen the financial burden on them in that scenario. So
Yeah.
Right.
a lot of different lenses really to bring to the picture that I don't think are discussed widely enough today.
Right. Well, and to expand on your point about leaving a legacy, if you don't have nieces or nephews, or maybe you don't like them, and you don't want to leave anything to them, you could also leave a legacy. I think your article mentioned you can also leave a legacy to charities or organizations that you like or would like to see prosper after you maybe leave the earth.
Yeah, absolutely. You can actually have the benefit, the proceeds of a life insurance policy go into your estate, and that estate could be given to nonprofit organizations. And for me, there are a couple that I'm passionate about. I love the performing arts, so the Metropolitan Opera here in New York is probably one of my favorite places to go, and just an organization that I support. But there are others also in the LGBT space. One that I really love is called the Point Foundation. It's an LGBT scholarship fund. So that's also one that I want to make sure if I were to die, at least I can leave a legacy on those organizations as well that are important in my life.
Yeah, I think it's a great option. For any of our followers or listeners who are watching this, if there's anything that you want to see prosper after you leave, I think that's a great option that I wasn't really aware of until recently.
Right. I know that talking about life insurance oftentimes is a morbid subject, and we all just kind of cringe when we think about it. I think especially for when we want to talk to our parents about it, we just kind of think it's very difficult. When no one wants to think about a family member or themselves dying. But I think most of us today, when we think about the way we want to have our lives be celebrated at the end, and we think about either funerals or I don't even like that word anymore necessarily, but I think that they are becoming much more celebrations of life, and this is a way that you can prepare for there to be that kind of celebration. Then if you want to have it be a big party and have a lot of fun and some live music or something like that, well, that somebody's got to pay for that. And so this is one of the ways to make sure that
your last kickoff
that you get you get to go out with a
Yeah.
bang. So you can detail it all and tell everybody what to do, and you just lay it out there in your will and your estate. And
it's like Gracie and Frankie.
Here's the
like that.
Here's the way that it's going to get paid for. Right.
That's great. So I wanted to ask you a little bit about Mark about Mass Mutual. Mass Mutual underwrites HavenLife's life insurance policies, right?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay, and Mass Mutual has been a big supporter of the LGBT community for years. Can you provide us some sort of context as to why they've adopted such a progressive mentality so rapidly?
Yeah, no, I appreciate you mentioning that. It's something I'm extremely proud of. I actually joined Mass Mutual about 6 years ago and came to HavenLife 2 years ago. And ever since joining Mass Mutual, I've been very involved in the LGBT employee group that we have at the company. And I've seen the company sign on to so many briefs in support of legislation, marriage equality, repeal of DOMA. Very recently, the company signed on to a law that was passed in Massachusetts that ensures transgender rights in public spaces in terms of access to facilities, which I'm really proud to see that. I think both Mass Mutual and HavenLife, I'd say what drives our support of the LGBT community is a focus on customer. Customer is always the most important to us. And when we design our experiences, we think about who is our customer and what is our customer looking for in this relationship that we're forming. And you can't do that without also supporting your customers in what they're trying to achieve in life. And so I think that that mentality has really always put the company at the forefront in terms of public and visible support of the LGBT community.
Yeah, that's great. We're big proponents of supporting those who support us, and it's great to be able to partner with you on this for that very reason. And to kind of expand upon that, you've recently adopted a policy for trans people to be able to identify with or be able to document their life insurance based on the gender they identify with. Is that right?
Yes. So we allow transgender applicants to identify their gender on the application, and that is the gender with which they identify. We do not ask for any documentation, proof, birth certificate, and the reason we don't do that is we understand that for the transgender community, many times they are leaving a life behind, right? And they are really moving forward with a new life. And we don't want this process to be difficult or painful, and we don't want any transgender applicant to feel that they are being challenged or they are being questioned in this process. And so that's why we very passionately allow people to really be who they are during the process.
Right. Nice.
And I guess, when you think about it, what life insurance is about life. It's not necessarily about who, it's the individual that you're insuring, not necessarily, you have to insure a man or a woman. It's whomever is applying.
Right.
And like you said earlier, your focus on customer, which is awesome. That's great.
Yeah, I think it's fantastic. It's for any trans person who's considering their holistic financial plan, definitely look at getting life insurance, and maybe HavenLife is an option for that.
Right.
That's pretty cool. Nice. As you were talking, something that came to my mind was: are there different considerations for single people with regard to life insurance relative to married people, whether you're gay or straight?
I think there are some different considerations. I think there are also a lot of similarities.
Mm-hmm.
I think so. I mentioned the importance of legacy for me. Right. And I guess one way to put it is think about who are the people that you love? Who are the people that are close to you in your life? Who are the people who would be impacted financially by your death? Now, you might have different answers if you're single versus if you're married. But ultimately, everyone has an answer to that question. And I think that's what life insurance is about, making sure that whoever that person is or those people are, it's always a difficult time. It's going to be a difficult time, but you can help them get through that time by at least providing that financial security. And so I think whether you're single or married, start with that premise, and it really helps understand the role this plays in your financial plan.
Sure. Yeah. I think what you want to do is have peace of mind. If anything should happen to you, that the people that you love are taken care of.
Right.
For example, when David and I first bought our condo, we both took out a life insurance policy for the amount that we had in our mortgage to pay off. Right. So how we affected that, so that if anything should happen to one of us, at least the other wouldn't lose the condo.
Right.
Yeah.
As long as I'm not going to get kicked out of here only when you're alive. I don't know how to tactfully say this, but
that's a different kind of
I'm staying here.
Whatever. That's a whole other career money. So I think a lot of individuals who have jobs have life insurance through their employer. Is there a reason then to get insurance in addition to that coverage?
Yeah, I think so. Coverage through an employer is key and is a great thing. I think when you're evaluating whether it's enough, you should consider how individual life insurance can be layered on top. I don't think it's ever a choice of one or the other. It's a question of how can the two work together. Mm-hmm. If you search online, generally the recommendation for how much coverage someone might need, and of course it varies on your individual circumstances, but generally a good rule is about 6 to 10 times your income. So if you make $50,000 a year, then you'd be looking at $300,000 of coverage to $500,000 of coverage. And your employer plan often won't give you access to enough coverage. So individual life insurance really closes the gap on that. And as I mentioned, it really does that in a very affordable way, much more affordable than most people think.
Right.
Gotcha.
That makes sense. Do you know, I didn't prepare you for this. Do you know what percentage of people are underinsured or don't have insurance in the United States by any chance?
Yeah, that is a big topic in the community nowadays, and one thing that we at HavenLife are passionately trying to address in society. The level of underinsured in the population has been increasing over time. And there are many explanations. I'm not an expert, so I wouldn't want to, surmise, but there are many explanations what might be driving that, but that rate is increasing. And we really hope that we at HavenLife, with the way that we approach the customer, the way we try to understand exactly what customers need, will help really kind of change that trend and move it in a different direction. And it could be that communities like the LGBT community may be part of that declining trend. If the LGBT community feels like companies don't understand them and don't support them, then it's hard to engage. And so, we really want to be part of the change.
Absolutely.
That moves that in a better direction.
Yeah, that's a good point you make. If people are feeling as if they're not being served by corporations or businesses, they might not even be researching if there are anomalies or companies who would be supporting whatever their needs are. So that's a very valid point.
Right.
It's good to make. How could somebody get an estimate for their potential cost of their life insurance? Is there a means to do that without having to, schedule a meeting with a rep?
Yes.
It's always a little bit daunting.
Avoid the human as much as possible.
Yeah,
well, they did say that they're a tech-savvy company, so
Right,
I'm sure there's
with you on
a way to
that.
do that.
So the best tool there is the HavenLife website, and on the website there's a tool we call Quick Quote, and it can actually help you understand how much life insurance you might need. It will even tell you if, based on your particular scenario, you don't need life insurance. We'll tell you that. Right. And then once you get to that figure, it'll show you various quotes. You can change the numbers, see how much the quote might change. And all of that is done before you even provide us with an email address or contact information. So there are a lot of tools on the havenlife.com website that can help with those questions.
Nice. Yeah, that's good. It's always very scary to have to give all your personal information because you're going to get spammed.
Just kind of a side story here. A guy I work with recently is looking for a car, and he signed up on some website to get some information. And Saturday morning, he got a call. He just got out of bed. Saturday morning, he got a call from a car dealership wanting to sell him a car. It's like, I checked the box that I didn't want anybody to call me. So I think there's a lot of people
Clearly, you can't
have
follow
that.
instructions.
Right, exactly.
I can say definitively that we will not you.
Mark is trying to stay far away from that. We will not do that.
Yeah.
Would you also mind? What's the process to get life insurance? How would you get started, and what all is involved before you actually get that coverage?
Yeah. Well, it varies a lot from one company to the next. And you reference, meeting with an agent and in the in-person process, which many companies still use, is very popular. Mm-hmm. At Haven, I mentioned we're really trying to meet the needs of a different consumer, an online consumer. So I'll talk about the Haven process, which is very different. If you come to the HavenLife website, there are a lot of tools that you can look at. You can even compare our prices to other carriers and see where we stand. If you choose to move forward with our application, you do the application entirely online. It takes less than 20 minutes to complete. And when you submit the application, you can qualify for immediate temporary coverage that will start the second you accept the offer. We'll give you 90 days to complete a medical exam, and that's really just to make sure that everything's in good order. and then you'll be finished and you'll be covered. And part of the reason that we do that 90 days, some people find that kind of strange. We looked at our customers and we understood that many of them have very busy schedules. They might have young children, or they might have houses, and trying to manage all of that can be tough with a full-time job. And so we give that 90 days because flexibility is key. We understand that. So
Absolutely, that's pretty cool.
Yeah,
pretty easy process.
Yeah.
Which I like. So cool. Do you have any last words on the need for the queer community to get life insurance, or anything else you want to mention before we wrap it up?
No, I think we touched on a lot of good topics here. I'd say the only final comment is it's really exciting to me to see the growth in LGBT families, and I hope that as people continue to form families, as I form my own family, that we just make sure that we're really thinking about our finances in a sound way and thinking about protection.
I have a question for you, Mark. And I'm thinking back to the days when, unfortunately, a lot of the individuals in our community were suffering during the AIDS crisis. And it was very common for individuals to withdraw funds from or sell a life insurance policy and take money out. And I know, fortunately, our community is not facing as drastic an impact today with that. But what about a situation when we're thinking about maybe a family member, our parents, or something like that who may be terminally ill? Or are there still provisions that allow us to be prepared and know what's going on in a situation like that where we could draw on money?
There are. In the Haven Term product, the Haven Term policy actually includes a provision like that. It's included at no cost in every policy. And it's a bit technical what we call it, but it's called an accelerated death benefit. It's usually included as what we call a rider. But basically, it's a benefit that allows, if you are diagnosed with a terminally ill condition, it allows you to access the death benefit to help pay for those medical expenses. And that's included in every policy that we sell at no extra cost. So they are out there. I'd say it's really important for anyone searching for life insurance to just make sure they're educated, they know what they're buying, and they think through those scenarios and make sure they're protected.
And would that be called an accelerated death benefit at any life insurance company, or is that strictly for what you call it?
It's kind of a general term.
Yeah, I think it's a fairly general term, but okay. I'm not a lawyer, so
they all have their fancy names for it.
But I have seen that name in many products. Yeah. Accelerated death benefit is what the name of the rider tends to be.
Okay. Yeah, good point. I'm glad you brought that up, because it's another reason to get life insurance, even if you are single, or even if you just have a same-sex spouse.
Right.
If you come down with something, that might help alleviate your last few.
Right. Well, and I'm just thinking, as a community, we are aging. Well, at least I am.
So I've got good light. You can't tell.
Even though we pretend not to be.
I think as an out community, much more visible community, we are aging, and so there are things that are common for us today that may not have been common 10, 20 years ago, and that is that we're in our 60s, 70s, and 80s and may be facing a terminal illness, or a family member may be facing a terminal illness, and being prepared as much as we can be is what's going to make our lives and their lives a whole lot easier, and allow us to do more and be more. I mean, to be able to take some extra time, spend some extra time and extra care with a loved one who may be facing a terminal illness, that could be the reason, or the way that could happen is because you're aware of an existing provision that's in their life insurance already, if they have it. So if you are facing something like that, that's something you want to definitely check into.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So as you're saying that, I'm wondering, is there a point when it's too late to apply for life insurance? Like, are you too old, or is there such a thing? It's probably not legal to say, huh?
Every company has different standards, and many times there are different products that really make sense at different points in your life. And at Haven, what we always say is, you can certainly, you can buy when you're older, but it costs a lot less to start that coverage when you're earlier. Think about it as a savings plan. You always do better if you start saving earlier, right? And having a life insurance policy is similar. To buy when you're young and healthy locks in that coverage at a really affordable rate. So I'd say, even though there's options maybe there if you're older, don't always rely on that. I'd say you need to be proactive. And I know you guys focus on that with finances as a whole, but you need to be proactive.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
Well, very cool. Anything else you want to add?
No, I think we're
so
good.
Cool. Yeah. Well, thanks again, Mark, for coming on to Queer Money. We appreciate you giving us some context on the importance of having life insurance, despite your unique situation. We have tons of unique situations, and we all need to be think about our holistic financial plan. So, thank you for coming on to Queer Money, and thank you for your patience in us making this happen.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys.
Absolutely. We want to thank our followers and listeners for listening to another Queer Money. Please direct message us or comment on Facebook or YouTube if you have any questions, comments, or feedback on this particular episode. And don't forget to like or subscribe to us on iTunes and YouTube.
Sounds good.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Mark.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for joining us, and thank you to HavenLife's Mark Sayre for helping us better understand today's life insurance, which now includes protections for all families and the ability for us to be able to leave an inheritance or a legacy. If you like today's episode and want more tips to build a bigger life, please subscribe to the Queer Money Lifestyle newsletter at debtfreeguys.com. Also, if you have questions about today's episode or any other Queer Money episode, you can contact us directly also at debtfreeguys.com. Thank you. Okay, we just serviced you. Now you get to service us by subscribing to this podcast on iTunes and signing up for the Queer Money Lifestyle newsletter at queer.money.
Well, I'm not really gay.
Would help me if I had a personal chef made all my healthy meals for me. Right. So instead I'll have a Snickers tonight for dinner.
The other end, I like the butts. So.